Man, I can't believe I just drove up here instead of hiking 3 hours just to get close to the top. That, where's my finger? That right there is where I would sit with my back to the big mountain, Mount Curry, which now I'm to the west of, and that is the top of the mountain that normally is behind me. And that's all Garibaldi Park out there, looking south, southeast. And I'm on top of a mountain that there was never really a logging road up before. I went winding up this trail and had to go check it out. Couldn't stop myself. And it's just really, really weird for me to be up here in a vehicle. I guess they logged this out a few years ago. Crazy. I'll share some better views here with you guys in a minute. This is really, really bizarre for me to be up here with a vehicle. Crazy. Here's my view. I'm going to set the camera up right here. Give you some history of what you're looking at, where I am. Then we're going to get some voices heard, all right? Never thought in a million years I'd be up here in a vehicle. Normally I'd have to hike up from the bottom for a couple hours in the dark up in the timber to get up to where the elevation where I like to hunt normally. So this is so weird for me to be here without sweating. It's so bizarre for me right now. I almost feel like caveman seeing a big lighter for the first time. So weird. So weird. So bizarre. Saw one bear on the way up, a bunch of deer tracks. Amazing. I wonder how long it'll take before they block off this road to get up here. They usually do that, deactivate them. Wow. Right in the heart of the coastal mountains, you guys, in British Columbia. All together wildlife here. There is grizzly bears, wolverine, wolves, black-tailed deer, a little farther over mule deer hybrids, moose. There's elk here now, a few, mountain goats everywhere, wolverine, foxes, porcupines, coyotes. I think that's about it for here. No sheep here. And the other people. So if you look behind me, as far as you can see, just over the top of as far as you can see behind me, just over the top and to the right, is very, very close to where Albert Ostman was snatched one night in his camp and taken away, and very close to where he hiked out, right there. I've been at the head of the valley here a few times over the years, handful of times. It's quite a truck bashing to get back there. One time I did go back there hunting years ago, just looking for somewhere to hunt, trying to figure out where everything was by myself. And I got out of the truck and right away it was like, it just felt like all eyes on me. And this, at the head of the valley, timbered, tight timber both sides of the road, is what it is. This is so bizarre for me to be up here with a vehicle. I just cannot believe it. And this is the wilds of BC. The coastal mountains. So I guess I should announce it's story time to everybody listening up here, right? It's story time. I'm sure it's not the first time anyone else around here has been aware of my story time. I've taken you guys to so many places around. I'm thinking about it over the years as I'm back what I call home here. And all the foot miles alone, just the foot miles I've taken you guys with me, and it makes me realize the foot miles I've done altogether, living around these mountains for 18 or so years, whatever it was, 20, I don't know. So many miles. If you ever want to feel insignificant or like you don't really mean too much, all you got to do is come up to a place like this or bigger mountains and hang up by yourself for an hour, 15 minutes, and you'll realize how long these mountains have been here, how long you've been here, and how long they'll be here after you're gone. Then it's easier to, as well, you see the shit show so-called system society's created. It's going nowhere. Anyways, I won't start babbling, but I'm going to share a couple emails from here. Then I'm going to move down. I'm going to show you guys another angle of the view. All right, so you get to see as much as you can instead of just one place. Now, quick notes, when someone sends in a book, we've had it happen a few times lately by coincidence. Somebody's sent in, but obviously they wrote a book for themselves about themselves, their experiences. And like I've said, I don't know how many times before, we're all at the same coffee table together, you guys, and we crack these things open together. And once I start reading, it's like, how do you stop? How do you disrespect how do you pick and choose who to disrespect in a way and just stop reading their shit? You know what I mean? Because you don't want to discourage people from writing in the truth, but I guess when some people just copy and paste literally pages from a book, maybe we should sort of try to discourage that. And if the people that do have that on the go, if they could possibly just email us the meat and potatoes of what they saw, what they experienced, and what they learned, and what it is from that experience they took that they want to share with all of you to help people. That'd be pretty cool, right? A little better, possibly? Because I'm not good at chopping people off and deciding. I'm not good at deciding what people get to hear or not. Unlike a lot of other places, right? Oh, wow, that sun is getting hot. Another thought I had too I want to share was how many people have been warned with a voice in their head, a feeling of stop now, turn around and leave. And if you don't, stop now, turn around and leave or you're going to die. And I would really, if I could somehow, maybe possibly, plant this seed now to whoever that it may happen to next, if it does, maybe, I know it's going to be hard, but if you could, maybe possibly try to ask, how am I going to die and who's going to kill me? I'll go, but first let me know who, how, and why when it comes to my death right here, right now in this particular place of the forest. Can you please tell me, is it going to be you who's going to make me die or something that you're protecting me from? Which one is it? Wouldn't that be a great question? That's a great question for me to have answered. I would love to hear the answer to that one. Another thing too I was thinking about is the thin veil. The vibrational plane, how we vibrate, other things vibrate, our vibration as we exist. Allegedly, a lot of people have come to the conclusion that these people can change their frequency, their vibration, and make themselves unable, make themselves become out of sight of us. And other times, a lot of people think there's just a thin veil between two worlds. But I was thinking, if that's the case, if there's a thin veil between two worlds, then obviously it just can't be these people are the only living beings in the other world. So if that was the case, then how come we're not seeing millions of sightings of the exact same odd wildlife from the other side of that veil, along with these people? Do you know what I mean? So if it's just a veil thinning between two worlds, and that's why we're seeing these people, well, we would be seeing all of the other wildlife, animal life, beings that are associated in their world as well. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, if it was two different worlds and the veil was thinning in some spots, well, on the other side, they'd have sightings of grizzly bears from our side. They'd have sightings of mountain goats from our side quite often. Possibly even more many times than they are seeing us. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. You know what I mean? If it was just another parallel world, then where's the rest of the life from that world, and why aren't we having sightings of glimpses of that life millions of times? I mean, well, obviously we're seeing the odd thing sometimes, but not as frequently as we're seeing these other people. It's a mystery, right? It's a mystery. It is a mystery. Pretty windy. If that camera doesn't get blown over, it's got a shitty little tripod underneath it. Now, let's hear somebody from here. And then I'm going to take us further down, show you a different view, all right? What do we got? This is titled Red. Goosebumps every time I tell this experience. All right. Steve, thanks for what you're doing. You're a good man and are helping so many through your videos. A lot of your thoughts and beliefs align. I've said for years, quote, they, end quote, are bottlenecking us. please go ahead and use my name. I've got no fear of what others think or say. My name is Johnny Morris. I'm 50 years old. I live in Coaldale, Alberta with my wife and our 2 amazing kids. I've had a hard go. This started years back, involving lots of bullying at my workplace and being held back from moving up the ladder. I became more and more stressed at the age of 36. I was diagnosed with an extreme case of fibromyalgia and arthritis, along with PTSD from a rough childhood and borderline personality disorder. My body and mind were falling apart, and my doctor had no answers or solutions except to push more pills on me. My journey has led me many other places, though. I started looking for answers as to why I was falling apart at such a young age, researching and listening to the real experts and people talking truth. Almost instantly, I realized that all of us have been lied to about everything, and that evil runs deep and is intertwined in every aspect of our lives. Some of the good people talking truth that I've found to be legit are Dave, Scott, Carpenter, Roger Spur, Thinker Thunker, Steve Quayle, L.A. Marzulli, and of course you and all the good honest people of the Club of No Return. Although I've never seen Sawby or Dogman, I've pulled my homemade sword a couple times in the bush without seeing or hearing anything. Animals don't cause that feeling. I've had several crazy encounters on my excursions over the years, but I'll leave you one unforgettable experience. I had taken a solo camping/fishing trip in the Alberta mountains. I'd never been in this area before, so I was just wandering in my Jeep looking for a nice place to fish. While driving up at a random back road, I saw 2 guys in a truck pulling a trailer with quads heading toward me. And as we neared each other, we slowed down and then briefly stopped to chat. And I remember noticing that the driver was extremely overly nice and forthcoming with answers to my small talk questions. He had longer blonde hair and was slender, slightly built, surfer-type dude. The passenger was built like a tank, pale, and looked straight ahead, not saying a word the entire time. He looked timid, maybe even scared. I started feeling uneasy and asked what they were doing in the area and if they knew of any good fishing spots. The driver explained they were not fishing but working for an American university and had just driven through the mountains from the U.S. to check and investigate all the bear caves through the mountain pass. Bear caves! That's a new one. The explanation raised my suspicion, as this was not a road connecting Canada and the U.S., and the story seemed far-fetched. Feeling very uncomfortable now, I quickly wrapped up the conversation. The driver and I both said, "See ya." The passenger said nothing, still only staring straight ahead. And as we slowly started pulling away from each other, heading in opposite directions, I leaned out my window, slightly still looking out at them, and the driver did the same. We both gave a final nod to each other, and that's when it happened. He started smiling. But his smile kept getting bigger and bigger. And as his smile grew, his facial features started morphing and changing. In 2 or 3 seconds, his smile was bigger than the Grinch's, with tons of long, skinny, needle-sharp teeth, the face of pure evil. He slowly sunk back into his truck window as he got further away. And I drove slowly, still looking back out the window, then checking my mirrors, trying to make sense of what I just saw. The truck had driven out of sight, but I was still checking my mirrors and trying to process it all, and was suddenly parched. My mouth was so dry. When I reached for my coffee, I realized that I was clutching my 18-inch hunting knife. Apparently during the seconds of insanity that I just witnessed, I had reached over and pulled my knife from its sheath without even realizing it. The rest of my trip, I was definitely on alert. I still get goosebumps when I talk or think about it, and thank God I never saw that truck again on my journey back down the mountain. I do, however, still wonder and worry about the passenger occasionally. I believe he was fully aware what was in the truck with him that day. There is evil in this world, and it's running the shit show we're all living and watching right now. I believe it's only going to get worse. The name of Jesus saves people from evil. This is proven time and time again. There's no way to the Father, Creator, except through Jesus. People need to know the truth, and we all have to fight the evil of this world together. Thank you, Steve, and for all that you share your truth. It's helped me in my life/journey immensely. Cheers to the Club of No Return. On a side note, Steve, when I was no longer able to work physically to support my young family, I decided to write a book in the hopes it would provide for my family as well as fulfill a dream I had of one day publishing a book. I dedicated all my time and money to working on it, writing it by hand 3 times over before my wife edited and typed it out. It's called The Hunter, about a superhero based out of Calgary, which is named Saddleback City in the book because, let's face it, Canada needs some good superheroes on our side of the border, eh? This book is the first of a trilogy with 2 more superheroes to be revealed, one at a time, with the second and third book. I also have another 10 to 12 more unrelated superheroes that I hope to one day publish as well. After a lot of hard work, I was finally able to get The Hunter published, and what a feeling of accomplishment when the first physical copy arrived. All my life I was told that I would never succeed in publishing a book, but I showed them. But more importantly, I was pumped about standing on my own 2 feet, being my own man and supporting my family once again. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong publisher who's been the only one benefiting from the sales of my book. My dream hasn't turned into what I hoped for my family, and I can't afford a lawyer. I got screwed. But I refuse to quit. I'm not looking for a handout, but if you were to give my book a shout out on your show, it could possibly help my family, and I'd be forever grateful and in your debt. I have lots of copies that I can sell directly, which I'd be happy to sign and ship to anyone who's interested in a great superhero story. If anyone is interested in purchasing a copy of The Hunter from me, they can send me a message on my Facebook page, The Hunter by Johnny Morris. Johnny Morris at hotmail.com. You can order directly from him. There you go. All right. I don't normally do that, but my gut said to go ahead and do it, Johnny. Good luck with your book. Sorry about the publisher, and you know you can do your self-publishing on Amazon, right? Next time, or even now. That's an odd story, but unfortunately, I've heard something similar to that a handful of times. And there is evil in this world. But also what people need to understand too is, what are you going to focus on with your time, right? What do you choose to focus on with your time? Obviously, I choose to focus on all this with the majority of my time. Then when I'm home, stuck in the cave. I mean, I like my little cave that I built. I know you guys do too, but this is where I belong. I belong right here, out here. Kind of drives me bonkers when I'm inside the cave, right? I'd rather be out here. It's funny, you can't stop looking on the timberline ever. Around here especially, holy shit. But anyway, you know, it's a lot of the channels that I've followed on YouTube when I have a chance just to get updated on what's going on with our shit show in society. And I realize a lot of those people that are doing the independent news sharing, their lives are absolutely 100% engulfed in the shit show. You know, they're exposing truth, which is fine. But holy shit, man, you got to feel sorry for them. It's nonstop. It's nonstop doom and gloom that they're focusing on and repeating and sharing day in and day out every single day. You know, Nino, I like Nino. He's a great guy. But he's a good example. I mean, almost all of his videos are geared up about the doom and the gloom and the dog shit going on. That's every single day. That's every single day, all day, having that as your focus, you know? I'm not saying what's right or wrong for each one on their own ride, but I'll tell you what, man, when there's all this beauty out here in the real world, you gotta cut yourself loose from the horse shit at least a little bit. Get back out here where we're supposed to be and how things are supposed to be. Free and fresh air, clear, drinkable water out of the ground. I'm rambling, babbling, I know. I'm just saying, you know, when you get up here, take a look behind me. Take a look at the sights I'm showing you guys. This is the world that we are here. This place is perfect. Everything is so frickin' perfect out here. It's perfect. It's the way it's supposed to be, and we fit out here. But this system that's been created is the demise of us. It's gotten to the point where moms and dads can't even raise their own children anymore. Right? Sucked into that system that is the wrong thing to be doing. Wrong. Oh, my empty water can is rattling around over there. Oh yeah, right, there isn't no microphone on the camera, is there? Oh well. Fixed it anyway. I'm babbling. I guess I'm just having a little bit of a moment reconnecting up here. Surprised I can't see any mountain goats yet. Probably hide in the shade. They like to do that. They get in the shade when it's hot out. Now, who's next? I'll read one more and then I'm going to move us to another view, all right? I'm going to be late. I'm not supposed to be up here right now. I'm supposed to be on my way home, but I couldn't help myself. I got carried away. I went up the mountains and found this new road, and here we are. This is titled, My Family and I Heard It, and I Saw It. Hello, Steve. My name is Justin. I'm writing you from West Central Illinois. My wife, daughter, and I used to spend countless hours playing in a creek near our home in White City, Illinois. This is a mostly rural wooded area between St. Louis, Missouri and Springfield, Illinois. This is not somewhere I would have expected to experience what we have. But here are our encounters in my own words. The first few encounters occurred in the late spring and summer. We would ride our side-by-side down the road and park near a bridge over a waterway called Cahokia Creek. This area was very private, and we could spend the afternoon wading through the creek trying to find arrowheads, old glass bottles, etc. And after long periods of rain, the layout of the creek would change. So there was always something new every trip we went. Our typical day, we would bring a bucket to pick up trash. My wife and I would sit on the sandy banks while my daughter would splash around and goof in the water. On multiple occasions, we would hear what we thought to be a cougar. The sound was odd to us, but never really considered that it would be one of the forest people. The only way I can describe it is that it sounded like a sad Wookiee. Exactly like the recording in your video sounds. Your video, quote, sounds recorded nightly. Now listen to this, end quote. That's the title of my past video he's saying. There's a plane at eye level going along the other side of the valley. It's all right. It was every 15 seconds or so for a short period of time. And like I said, we took it for a cougar or something, which even then aren't that common there, but possible. I'm always carrying, so we weren't very concerned, just aware. This happened 2 or 3 times. I would drive over that bridge daily to and from work. I believe the year to be 2019, and I was working 7 days a week because we were experiencing flooding at work from the Mississippi River. And one afternoon at around 4 p.m., I was crossing the bridge and working my way up the road. The creek is at the bottom of a half-wooded, half-farm field area. As I'm coming out of the bottom, up ahead there are trees on both sides of the road. The trees formed a canopy on both sides. The sun was shining through the very lush foliage, so my visibility was clear. I saw on the left side of the road something run out from the trees on all fours. It was solid black, covered in short to medium length hair, and about the size of a black bear. But it happened so fast, so I only have a short photographic video memory of it in my head. Ran out from the left and across the road to my right side. And on the right side, there is an embankment that would require some strength and grip to ascend easily. While running on all fours, this thing stood up on the hind legs and climbed that embankment with ease. It happened so fast and it was very disorienting. I was home a few minutes later and called my neighbor who had lived in the area for almost 50 years. And I asked him if he had ever heard of bears being in the area. And he mentioned that they had released some pretty far south of the U.S. to help control the cougar population. What? But he assured me there were no bears around and that I am crazy. I've discounted my experience for several years. The only crazy part's the guy saying they released bears to control cougars. Holy shit, that's a new one. I've been watching your channels for almost 2 years now, and I'm obviously sure what I saw was not a black bear and certainly not a cougar. The speed and agility of this thing, along with the sounds that my family and I heard, are no longer mistakable for anything else. And I'm thankful that our experience wasn't as traumatic as others. And for those people, I wish you the best in dealing with the negative effects that such encounters have had. We no longer live in that area and are 100% rural now, only hearing coyotes all night and the occasional fox on the tree line across from the field behind our house. I've attached some aerial photos of the area The location of the encounters will always be in the center of the photographs. The Google Maps Street View is the exact location and view that I would have seen from my vehicle when the being crossed the road and ran up the embankment. Thank you for your time, Steve, and thank you for helping me fall asleep for the last couple of years. You're a true inspiration to us all with what you're doing. Keep fighting for truth and freedom and be safe. Love you, man. You too, my brother. Why does that picture look familiar? Maybe I read it. Maybe I did. Oh well. Oh well, if I did. I don't recall it, but the pictures look vaguely familiar. Maybe I saw the email and saved it and didn't read it. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna move down the road to a different view. These flies are starting to find me here pretty good. And it's annoying as shit, little bastards. But before we go, right up over the top of this hill right here, right beside me on that side. I don't know if you can see it in that view right now, but right over there. Some 18-inch footprints with a 6-foot stride came up the top of that hill right down to the other side of the valley, which is the Sioux Valley, S-O-O, Sioux Valley. And a couple of people found there's a paragliding jump up there. I've actually taken you guys up there before a few years ago. And that went down right there, just so you know. Giving you a little bit of history right here. What else? I told you about Albert Ostman at the head of the valley, just over the height of land behind us here. He got snatched not far from there, and he showed up not too far from here as the crow flies. Anyway, God, I love it up here. I just love these mountains. Love it. Okay, let's take you guys down below. I gotta start heading home here pretty quick. I'm only about, I don't know, 3 hours late and leaving already. Oops. Let's go farther down the mountain. All right, a little farther down on the other side now. I climbed down on this perch down here, straight down to the bottom. And the bottom is where I used to typically start and hike up to here in the dark and hunt up here. Now we're looking towards Garibaldi Park over there. Now, where am I gonna go? So I put the camera right here. The amount of stuff going on all over there, and as the crow flies to Harrison, it's a pretty busy place for the other people and human interaction, I guess you should say, right? So I kind of laugh when people say, oh, they're running out of habitat. Yeah, no, they're not. It's not habitat. The fact of the matter is they're right alongside us, shoulder to shoulder, and there's no reason to be when you see all of this land available, and especially when you have the skills and whatever you got going on, the way you can travel. It doesn't make sense for you to even run into a human being, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't make sense, so that's a big why for me. I mean, look at this country I'm in, and this isn't even the tip of the pin in area. Now, man, I'm beat. I was so tired yesterday after doing that cliff diving, rappelling all day long, and then I got up in the morning, hiked all the way up the mountain to my other spot, and then I was gonna fall asleep. I was like, I gotta have a nap in the timber. Found a nice spot. It's kind of breezy, and all of a sudden there's something black. I'm like, what the hell is that? And it was a bear. I'm like, really? I just went around the whole hillside, all good, all clear, no gun. I had my knife though, but there's a damn bear sitting there staring at me. I'm like, shit, there goes nap time. I left. I videotaped him, I'll share him with him. This is titled, My Native Grandfather's Story. Dear Steve, thank you for your channel and all you do for the truth to be revealed. And thanks for all the people who shared their stories out to the rest of us. Did I turn that microphone on? I better have. Yep, okay. You know, sometimes I screw up. I gotta double check. Much respect. Please just use my first name only as I'm probably already on every watch list the scumbags have, LOL. My story is more of a historical one, as it comes from my grandfather. Luckily, as myself, I've never seen one of these beings. The only thing I have seen are big black cats, where they're not supposed to exist, LOL. My grandfather is Native American, First Nations. I used to ask him about everything. I was an inquisitive kid. I'd ask my grandfather about Sasquatch after a really cool biology teacher I had in school brought up the subject of Bigfoot and showed us a Patterson-Gimlin film. Grandpa smiled at me and said, "I don't believe in them, but I'm damn sure scared of them, LOL." I pondered on that a bit. He had a way of saying things that would make us think. I went back and asked him what he meant by that, and he relayed his memories. His dad, my great-grandfather, was hunting buddies with Teddy Roosevelt. When Grandpa was a kid, they would go for dinner, cornbread and beans, and after the guys came home from the hunting trips, he listened to his father and the rest tell about the things that happened to them out on their hunts or adventures, and he very matter-of-fact said, "There are things in this world that are very hard to understand, but are indeed very real." Years later, I was reading about Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders and came across some writings about him when he was younger, and he was writing about what I believe was their encounter with a Sasquatch. I was a little surprised to find historical writings about the same story my grandfather had told me about when I was a kid. To sum it up, as of yet, I'm not an experiencer, but I'm a knower, as I knew my grandfather to be straight up, no-nonsense kind of guy, and to top it off, I found the exact same story he related in my research on another topic. There is a real and rich history that the scumbags in charge are kept from we the people. It's time the people are made aware. Thank you for all you do, Melissa. Melissa, I appreciate that email. It's an interesting little tidbit from your family history and our history as a whole. Very interesting. Oh, here's a long one. Whew. All right, I'm going in. I'm going in. Story time to whoever's listening to me. More story time. You know I'm being listened to, without a doubt. Importance of infrasound with Sasquatch fear factor. Steve, the following is long, but bear with me, it's a lot of information. You may want to read this before you read it out on video to decide how will you use it. It's a book. I've edited it a dozen times, but can't get it shorter. I think a discussion on the importance of infrasound with Sasquatch encounters is warranted. There is a very high likelihood that infrasound is the cause of many of the reported symptoms of fear, nausea, dread, the need to leave, imbalance, disorientation, incapacitation, and other bad feelings people describe when Sasquatch is encountered, even when unseen. With increasing frequency to infrasound and stories, but no definition of what it is, I decided it was time to write in. Many people involved in Sasquatch study believe they use infrasound routinely. From what I've learned, I agree. This seems especially pertinent when I look at the list of recurring symptoms, including unexplained ill feelings, fear, dread, terror, etc., etc. Typo. Reported by people after a known or suspected Sasquatch encounter. Infrasound is extremely low frequency sound that human ears cannot hear, but it acts in the form of pressure waves. Because infrasound is basically a shock wave, you can't avoid being affected by it. But because you can't hear it, you don't know what has happened. The loud screams, roars, and other frightening sounds are bad enough, but this inaudible assault is visceral and mysterious. It's like an invisible secret weapon. Okay, I'm going to change our view, right? Or can you see? I think I can see the screen. All right, we'll let it rip. I'm just getting heated right up here and the wind's not looking at me enough. I'll go another paragraph. I might change the view over to there again, all right? Research shows that in humans, certain low-frequency sound pressures routinely cause unease, fear, incapacitation, and physical discomfort. According to one research project, human test subjects reported instantaneous and very intense ill feelings at one specific infrasound frequency. The report also noted that effects varied among subjects from intense to almost negligible. There's a large body of scientific information on impacts of infrasound in humans. More information on this below. I got into infrasound inquiry after discussion with a friend who has had a long association with Sasquatch. I described an experience during a sheep hunt, told below, and he pointed me to infrasound. That piqued my interest, and I waded through a lot of technical reports on infrasound. I'll try to summarize what I learned at the end of this email. Infrasound is an ultra-low frequency, long wavelength sound waves that you can feel and that can affect your eyes, ears, organs, brain, and nervous system. For humans, infrasound is frequencies below 20 Hz or 20 wave cycles per second. Human ears can normally hear frequencies between 20 Hz and 20,000 Hz. There's plenty of evidence in your videos to indicate that Sasquatch do indeed use infrasound as a non-lethal means of scaring people, stopping people and making them leave. They can remain unseen but can still drive you away. From what many people report, infrasound impacts apparently can accompany the loud, scary vocalizations or a visual contact, magnifying the fear and physical effects by causing varying levels of terror, unease, illness, and disorientation in people. I think the pressure and unease you personally describe is actually the effect of infrasound pressure working on you. Perhaps in your case it's not fully amped up to scare you, just used to push you away or make you uneasy. They are not planting terror, just the urge to turn away and go elsewhere. This also sounds like it has been true for many. It happened to me. All right, changing the view. Give me a minute. I'll take the camera with me. What the hell? Getting hot here. Hot. That's a pretty good view, isn't it? Oh, put you guys in a tailgate. Hold on a second. There we go, get some of these thermals going here. Excuse me, help me keep me a little cool. See if I can do this and finish this off from here. Learning about infrasound was an aha moment for me. I've lived, hiked, camped, hunted, fished, played, and worked decades as a field biologist in many places in the U.S. I've spent time in a surprising number of places where Sasquatch stories were told on how to hunt have occurred. I'm attracted to the exact places Sasquatch would like, wild and remote, and presently live in an area with a long history of encounters. When I travel wild places, perhaps unlike a lot of women, I am armed, which may temper my experiences. I think I've had 4 contacts with Sasquatch, but there have been other out there things as well that may be tied in. 2 of my experiences have earmarks of infrasound use. My encounters, non-visual, have been in Colorado's Front Range and Wyoming's Wind River Range. Below I describe 3 incidents that have evidence of the use of infrasound, and 2 are mine. I am anonymous and not using names for privacy of others. My solo encounters while hunting bighorn sheep in Colorado. We had already been living up at a tree line backpack hunting for a couple of weeks when this occurred. I was alone that day and the only human within many miles. Not finding the rams up high early, I decided to drop from the alpine tundra to below the tree line to see if the sheep had bedded in the bristlecone pine zone. Excuse me. As I got near the bristlecones, I hit what I can only describe as a force field. It stopped me dead. There was an invisible line I could not cross. I did not get fear, I need to leave, just an energetic pushback. At that barrier, I developed a peculiar, unexplained shimmering of my vision. It was pretty disconcerting. Having my vision go haywire, the shimmering intensified when I was trying to cross the barrier and abated when I backed away. I walked up and down the line for over 100 yards, testing it and being repulsed. I got the clear message, come no further. Something did not want me down there. If Sasquatch was using infrasound, it worked. I finally gave it up and climbed back to the boulder fields above. I kept hunting another week in the same area with no recurrence of that puzzling forest field, and did get my ram up on a talus slope. Another encounter involved two of us on a high elevation bow hunt for mule deer, but my partner got the brunt of the infrasound attack. I was more of an observer, but I got the clear message we needed to leave. I saw firsthand what that induced dread looked like when I watched my husband retreating from the rim of a high Colorado glacial basin where I now believe he had a Sasquatch bombarding him with infrasound. He described having suddenly been overcome with dread, intense fear for his life, the urge to defend himself with his knife, urgently needing to leave, and seeing nothing to cause those feelings. When I spotted him, he was getting the heck out of there, looking back over his shoulder, scanning around, moving defensively. I could read it clearly in him, through binoculars at nearly half a mile away, though I didn't feel it myself. I knew we needed to get out of there now. I hurried straight down the valley wall and was rapidly packing gear into our backpacks when we arrived at camp. Added to how my husband was acting, just moments before I saw him in brisk retreat, I'd watched all the deer in the lower valley bolt as a unit, up and away from the bottom of the Cirque Valley. They looked like terrified deer, not just a bit spooked. No way it was me who alarmed them when I had circled widely up into the valley. I was at a long distance out of sight, off to the side and downwind. I also had been avoiding using my predator gaze on the deer. I knew something bizarre was happening. Looking back, I think we might have been in the middle of a Sasquatch deer elk hunt, and that he was right in the middle of what they were doing, so they wanted him out. We bailed out of there in a hurry. The feeling of dread gradually left him as we cleared out of the valley entrance, and no problem there on many other visits in our hidden valley, before or after that one strange evening. This third story is from my friend. 1970s, around the south end of Wind River Mountains, there was a lot of, sorry, there's a fly on my screen. There's a lot of reported Sasquatch activity. He and two friends were up in the mountains seeking Sasquatch and ran across a Basque sheep herder tending domestic sheep on a Forest Service grazing lease. The herder told them they had just missed the old man, as the Basque called Sasquatch, and directed them to a nearby stream, finding very, very, very large tracks filling with water. The men were running in hot pursuit, drawing closer. Suddenly, all three were slammed to the ground. The lead guy was knocked unconscious, and the other two were stunned. My friend, who had experience with lightning, mentioned that it was a bit like being struck by lightning. He attributed the event to probable defense use of infrasound that must have been one heck of a high decibel pulse. And about infrasound. Infrasound's low frequency can actually vibrate solid objects, including the human body. Although you can't hear it, the wave pressure / shock waves can have substantial effects on your body, particularly organs, brain, and nervous system. It can be measured, monitored, and there's been a lot of research into infrasound after it was recognized as a real physical / psychological influence. Humans can actually produce infrasound frequencies, even though we cannot hear them. A number of species use infrasound to communicate, sometimes over vast distances. Bioacoustic studies on tigers show infrasound frequencies incorporated into their audible roars, which are capable of temporarily paralyzing or freezing prey, and even human handlers have been affected. The studies on infrasound had nothing to do with Sasquatch, but instead went into military weapons development, peculiar pathology in industrial settings, and more recently, impacts from wind generators. Some American diplomats in foreign countries were believed injured, some seriously, from the hostile use of infrasound weapons. The music industry is also well aware of infrasound and uses it to induce emotions through hidden sound. They even conducted experiments on concert goers, in one case documenting that unheard infrasound they played resulted in participants feeling uneasy or sorrowful, getting chills down the spine, or nervous feelings of revulsion or fear. Compare this quote from one report to symptoms people here have reported. At high volumes, infrasound can directly affect the human central nervous system, causing disorientation, anxiety, panic, bowel spasms, nausea, and vomiting. Infrasound makes your organs vibrate and can impact the inner ear, affecting balance and coordination, and causing vertigo and disorientation. Although infrasound can't be heard, the pressure in the middle ear can impair normal hearing. It can affect heart functions and breathing, sometimes causing shortness of breath. It can knock you unconscious. The effects can last for hours or longer, and all these things have been mentioned in known and suspected Sasquatch encounters. What really grabbed my attention because of what happened to my vision on that sheep hunt was the statement in one report that, quote, sound around 19 hertz matches the resonant frequency of the human eyeball, end quote. I finally had an answer to what happened. My eyeballs were vibrating because of the resonant frequency effect from infrasound, causing the sparkling, shimmering visual impairment. You have read 2 accounts that mention seeing fractals. I understood exactly what they meant. This word was being used to describe seeing swirls of tiny geometric shapes of rainbow colors or light flashes that resulted in the disrupted focus and impaired vision. That shimmering fractal vision can be explained by eyeballs vibrating at infrasound frequency. In descriptions of various encounters I've found while researching this question, I found another person who described a force field that stopped him from approaching a Sasquatch using the same words I did. And here's a thought. Eyeball vibration resulting in distorted vision also might be related to the shimmering/cloaking some people describe. It might be that a human observer can't see the Sasquatch because of the visual distortion effect on the eye from the infrasound waves. Perhaps they use focus-directed infrasound to hide from us. After reading all the information from these papers, I also wonder if it is the use of infrasound that makes people not hear sounds. The infrasound can interfere with normal hearing, so it might temporarily deafen the recipient. It might be that the person ceases to be able to hear normally, rather than all sound stopping. And yeah, that was a long discussion on infrasound, but the point is that it can be used to induce involuntary fear, nausea, dread, anxiety, panic, and the loss of bodily functions, emptying bladder and bowels. It can affect heart function, breathing, hearing, and cause unconsciousness. It can be used to induce extreme fear/terror, even without a visual sighting of a Sasquatch. There are responses you cannot consciously control because they are the result of a physical impact. That fear response from an infrasound attack is physical, but the lasting fear may be psychological. It is not happening because the person is a coward or weak. It is happening because of the invisible weapon Sasquatch has. You might see one or hear one along with being struck by infrasound, maximizing the terror. I think people need to know that fear, dread, aversion, or the need to leave is probably being planted into them by Sasquatch through their use of infrasound as a non-lethal weapon. It is not a failing of the person who is the victim of it. No one should be ashamed of having those intense fear responses. And because it isn't in the moment occurrence, if Sasquatch is not constantly present at that location, it may never occur again in a given spot. So going back safely may be possible. I have revisited infrasound locations with no repeat. Maybe this will help people understand some of what has happened to them and help them shed the embarrassment and lingering fear that have been the result of unexplainable bad feelings. Or maybe it will prepare someone, in the event of an encounter, to understand what is happening. The screams, roars, tree knocks, and other scary stuff like seeing one will still be scary, unfortunately. I'm not suggesting that anyone ignore their gut feelings, even if you may be the victim of infrasound. Pay attention to your surroundings. Heed the warnings. Don't ignore your sixth sense. When you need to leave, leave. There may still be danger. People's stories on your channel have helped confirm for me what was responsible for my strange experiences. Many thanks to all for those stories. Safe travels. There's another PS, I think. I can provide a bunch of links to articles if you want to read for yourself. PS, you said to put it all in, so not relevant to this discussion above, which is too long anyway, but background. Use if you want. Since you usually ask, I have no First Nations lineage. but do have deep ancestry from early humans, including Neanderthal and Denisovan. I seem to inherently possess ancient knowledge or instincts that surprise and have puzzled me. I am wired with a high level of sensitivity, so my extra senses are always active. Through How to Hunt stories, I've learned that I've been at a number of locations with reported sightings, just because I was there, not because I was looking for Sasquatch. It turns out that I haven't unintentionally been in several now known hotspots. I've come to know a number of people who've had experiences that could only have involved Sasquatch. Perhaps not coincidentally, I've worked at munitions and nuclear facilities. And like you, I became a hunter on my own. It's a driving force. It's taken me to many wild places. I grew up in the northern Adirondacks and recently learned that the French-Canadian woodsmen there, descendants from those who have crossed into northern New York from Quebec, called these beings rougarou, or old man of the forest. I'm getting deer flies all over me. This from a relative who saw one at less than 15 yards while deer hunting about 10 miles south of Canada. His description was pure Sasquatch. On that note, hold on, I gotta check the battery, make sure you're not missing this. All right, hold on a minute here. What do we got here? Oh, good timing, hold on a minute. Lucky I caught that one. Battery's just about to die. This from a relative who saw one at less than 15 yards while deer hunting about 10 miles south of Canada. His description was pure Sasquatch. About 8.5 or 9 feet tall, long arms and legs, heavily built and muscled. Long, 5 to 8 inch hair all over except the face. Dark brown, about the color of black walnut hardwood. Face closer to human than ape, but not quite. More Neanderthal. He described a sense or a voice projecting into his head that all was well, and the rougarou wasn't a threat. He was hunting with a rifle, so thought the rougarou likely just wanted him calm. After that, he said they both sort of backed up and turned around. This from a woods-wise Vietnam vet who had worked special forces behind enemy lines. Naturally, these woodsmen didn't talk about rougarou outside their own group of those who already knew, so people like me didn't get to hear about them. I think I was greeted while elk hunting in fall of 22, Wind River Mountains, when I had a ping-pong ball-sized stream of pebbles land near me during a lunch break. It came from a thick patch of dog hair lodge poles steeply uphill from me and plunked down inches from my hip about 10 miles from there. At a favorite fishing spot, my husband and I had an odd tree falling incident. 4 big deadfalls, one after the other. The air was dead still, not a breath of wind. There's a lot of beetle-killed timber around there. We're in a large open meadow surrounded by hundreds of square miles of dark timber, elk, and grizzly habitat. After hearing so many falling tree stories, we now wonder if we had company in those trees that had helped falling. These were both not far from Yellowstone. I've heard firsthand from locals of a couple odd incidents. A deer hunter who spotted dark hair in thick trees explained she then became paralyzed for a period before she was released and escorted out amid breaking branches. An elk hunter in an area where sightings have been reported awoke in the dark after several hours of unconsciousness with no memory of what happened and no injury. I know this area. I elk hunt in there. As a final note, Scott Carpenter, who has also mentioned effects of ultrasound, has one video where he says that it might have been used on him to induce amnesia when he videotaped a Sasquatch making verbal motions but not producing audible sound. He thinks this video of the Sasquatch came from that encounter. He thinks his video of the Sasquatch from that encounter shows it producing infrasound. He had entirely forgotten even filming that video. Therefore, his suspicion on amnesia. End of email. There you go. Shared. Take from what you will or leave it, you guys. I appreciate that email and all your experiences. I'm super glad and stoked you got the wheels turning, you're trying to figure it out, and you're sharing it with everybody here. That's what we need. Myself personally, I'm not overly, the infrasound thing doesn't get my attention too much compared to other things. Myself, as we go, I'm more trying to figure out what the hell I am. What am I originally supposed to be doing, and what am I doing here, and who am I? What are we? And I've always said, even from the beginning, how are we going to figure out what the hell's going on with these people when we don't even know our own truth? You know what I mean? It's a crazy ride. It's frustrating, but we're getting there. But you gotta admit, not too many of us know our exact truth, right? But I'll tell you what's going on today isn't in our face that everything's wrong. Everything's wrong. I mean, come on, are we really just placed here to be slaves? And if you think you're free, think again. Think again, every single one of you. Think again. We're not free. We're not free. Free to a point. We're all that dog raised in a cage, we just don't know it. But to become more and more aware of it and just how drastic it is quite frustrating. I guess I should probably shut my mouth because I keep babbling about it, but it's on my mind a lot. The system. You're born, as soon as you start to be able to read and speak, you're thrown into that system that's wrong. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be a doctor, a fireman, a nurse, a scientist? Imagine if we had common sense the day we were born, our reply would be, well, actually, I just think it's going to be free, Mom. What? What are you talking about? Well, I just want to be free. I'm going to go and do everything I want to do in this lifetime and explore stuff and see it. Oh, no, you can't do that. First, you're going to have to donate 12 years minimum to the school system first. No, I don't want to do that, Mom. No, I don't want to do that. Look at all these mountains and all this beauty and all this nature and all the healthy stuff in it. I think I want to dive into that and be free and do what I want. No, you can't. Got it? You know? I'm starting to babble. I'm gonna give you one more babble, important one. I was talking to Sarah this morning, and she's been getting a lot of blood work done this past year, trying to narrow out some issues she may have, and all of a sudden this doctor said she had extreme high cholesterol, and it was genetic, and they have to be put on this medication. And right away her gut went off. She shared it with me. I said, your gut's telling you, don't take those damn pills. No. If you've got high cholesterol, real extremely high, we can fix it. We've got fresh water, we got fish, we got game, we got our own vegetables, we got exercise, we got our health, and that's how we fix shit, especially the more and more I'm becoming aware of the medical system, right? So she tells the doctor on the video chat they had that she's taking the medication, right? Follow me. Then in that time, I don't know how many other people I've heard from where their doctors were pushing cholesterol medication on them. Follow me. So what does Sarah continue to do? Well, she joined CrossFit, but she normally did her walks with Ruby every morning. We drink water every day. We're either eating elk, deer, salmon, homegrown chickens, home eggs, regularly anyway. She's put a little more extra focus on exercise. And apparently she was extremely high, 8.8 or something, whatever that reading is, and she brought it down to 7.1. She had a video conversation with this doctor yesterday. And the doctor says, oh my God, it's way down. The medication's working. You've come so far. It's amazing. And Sarah replied, well, actually, no, I didn't take the medication. I've just been exercising and eating right. And the doctor's attitude swung right around 180 degrees, and she said, I'm putting a report here on you and a mention and a warning that you're not taking the medication. You should be. You're on the verge of a stroke or heart attack. And her whole attitude went absolute south because she wasn't taking the medication. Completely, topic of her cholesterol dropping rapidly, wasn't in the conversation anymore. The doctor's attitude and demeanor changed to negative and aggro the second she said she wasn't taking her effing pills. What do you think of that, you guys? Huh? What do you think of that? If that doctor was male, I think I'd probably go visit it and solve it man to man. You know what I mean? F us, F you. Right? Thought I better share that one with you guys. Everything that we need to heal and live healthy, a healthy life, long life, and everything we need to heal is all around me right now. It's all you need. Believe it or not. Take from what you will, leave it. All right? For the most part. All right, I'm babbling. I'm overtired. I'm back in my mountains. I can see where I get my attitude from. I certainly had a whole shitload more attitude all the time online when I was living right here full time, didn't I? Something about these mountains and all this air and freedom and vastness. It kicks it into gear for me and anchors me, grounds me, puts me right back where I should be, where we all should be. Anyway, ramble babble, time to go. Sarah's not going to be too impressed I'm late. I'm going to be, I don't even, who knows what time I'll get home, midnight tonight, 1 in the morning, whatever, I'll get there though. Share my story at how to hunt, you guys. Share my story at howtohunt.com. All right? Let's all learn together and learn how to become healthy and free together, all right? Don't stop sharing your truth, okay? Email me your truth. Nobody's going to shut me up.